Hello, I'm Deb Knight. Welcome to A Current Affair. Phil and Eunice thought Glenn was their guardian angel. Drowning in debt, he offered the pensioners a solution they thought was too good to refuse. So the couple signed on the dotted line to stay in their home. Now they face being booted out.
When pensioners Phil and Eunice Good built this home in Diamond Creek, it was everything they dreamed of, but not for long.
The gutters were leaking, roof problems.
With a myriad of defects, they hired Glenn Jones to help them take on the builder in the Victorian Civil and Administrative Tribunal.
He was employed as a building inspector to review all the faults and compile a report.
But their builder went into liquidation, and so the VCAT case was abandoned. Phil and Eunice were left with a $78,000 bill from lawyers that they couldn't pay and a $170,000 mortgage. They'd already drained their superannuation and savings on legal fees.
And how were you feeling at that point?
Down.
Yeah, a bit down, yeah.
Worried.
I'm worried.
The couple was living pension to pension, and they allege Jones knew that when he came up with a solution.
It would be an agreement whereby we would sell the property to a trust and we would be beneficiaries of that trust. And I understood that we would still own the property.
Jones presented them with this management and loan agreement, nominating himself to be managing director of OzTeam Mortgages as trustee for the trust. Part of the deal meant Phil and Eunice must pay a minimum monthly rent of $500.
The bank loan on our existing mortgage would get paid, and also our lawyer's bill would get paid.
Phil and Eunice admit they were desperate and claim Jones didn't let them read the agreement in full before signing, something Jones denies.
We were in a haze. We could not read the words.
Do you feel Glenn was pressuring you to sign this agreement?
I do.
Yes.
I feel that we were duped into signing this agreement.
In 2018, their home was sold to the trustee. The pensioners say they kept up to date with rent and transferred money to the trust for council rates and water rates per the agreement. But what they didn't realise was Jones had taken out a hefty loan with steep interest.
She'd borrowed $520,000 in a private arrangement with a mortgage broker at 7%, whereas the bank rate was way down on that.
Ultimately, the couple says the arrangement Jones sold to them was doomed to fail.
It was a crazy situation. It could not work.
And so now, the Sheriff's Office is knocking.
This came in the post box. It was hand-delivered. It's a notice to vacate the property from the Sheriff's Office.
Their deadline, today.
It's almost inhuman to kick people out under these circumstances.
Do you think you would be in this position had you not signed that agreement that he proposed?
I do. I regret it every day. It's not fair. At our age, it's not fair to be thrown out of our home that we work for.
What was meant to be a lifeline for Phil and Eunice has now somehow become their worst nightmare. A Current Affair spoke with Glenn Jones to understand his side of the story, but he didn't want to comment because they're now battling it out here in the Supreme Court of Victoria.
But his lawyers provided this statement, which said Phil and Eunice Good were not pressured into entering any agreement, and it was our client's understanding that they were at all times represented by an independent lawyer and had the benefit of legal advice in relation to the transfer of the property into the trust.
The court needs to give us a fair deal. This is Australia.
We always pay our bills every time one comes through.
He's in effect ruined us.
But Jones argues, according to court documents, that the $520,000 loan has been spent on purchasing and maintaining the property, that the trust has run out of money and the couple haven't paid property expenses. He also says he didn't take advantage of the couple.
They entered into a trust that they shouldn't have entered into, but their white knight came to what they thought was their rescue.
Melany Dowse from Attwood Marshall Lawyers has more than 21 years' experience in property disputes.
Creating a trust is not an easy fix, but it took control from them in relation to their debt. Reach out to the person who you owe the debt to. Talk to them about it.
Whoever comes out on top in court, the grandparents are now grappling with reality. They have to leave the place they call home in Melbourne's east.
Devastated, because we don't know where we're going.
Phil will also lose the shed that houses all his hobbies.
And maybe Eunice get a little bit upset sometimes when I spent too much time in there, but it was a break.
And these morning walks up the hill will be his last.
We planted about 42 trees altogether.
Wow.
Look at the view.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Facing today's deadline, Phil is making one last plea for help.
I can't go any more, I've had enough. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Once the property is sold, Phil and Eunice will resume the proceedings currently before court. A damages claim against the trust that Jones established and Jones personally.
We're in this situation through no fault of our own, and we could be made homeless.
Glenn's lawyer says he denies any wrongdoing and that there were numerous discussions before any agreement was signed.